The Alleghany Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia has had a ton of paranormal activity over the last couple years. Here are some of the ghost stories. First up is the story of Lily, who still comes to visit.
Being a lunatic asylum, the Alleghany has many stories and assumptions about its past patients. Some of the most commonly told stories are about a girl named Little Lily. Seemingly the most common version of the story is that she was born to a woman in the asylum who was a victim of Civil War soldier violence. Her mother is said to have died in childbirth, and Lily was left to the nurses of the ward. She is said to only have lived there for a short time, contracted pneumonia at a young age, and then died.
Visitors to the asylum actually bring Lily toys to have something to play with. You might even hear her running down the hallway if you're lucky. If you go to the upper floors, you might run into Frank and Larry, who like to play cards and hear dirty jokes. Unfortunately, not every spirit is considered as friendly or as innocent. Don't just take my word for it, though.
Have something that they call, or an entity that they call the creeper, up on the 4th floor. Now, our staff doesn't necessarily have negative interactions with him, but he kind of crawls across the floor, and they've seen him like clinging to doors and crawling up walls, which definitely would be very unsettling to anyone that would come in here. We believe that that is just his way of telling people to leave him alone.
The stories that are often told about ghosts and other folklore tales stem from its storied past. It's only natural that from the historical necessity of women bringing their children to the facility with them, would stories like Little Lily's come to our imaginations. The asylum story comes out of 2 centuries of incredibly transformative history for West Virginia in the field of psychology and mental health. Its purpose in the region was to provide moral treatment, but what that means was subjective to the time and understanding of treatments. The legacy of its ghostly figures points to the history and the morality of the place and its inhabitants' treatments. Often these narratives tend to attempt to draw attention to the wrongs to find the rights. The narratives are meant to evoke the evolvement of human experience, personalizing the history of the place to learn from the tragedy.
It's honestly no surprise that so many discarded souls called this place home. This place became a hotbed of activity as a result of so many people that were pretty much swept under the rug or isolated from the rest of society.
Now, in the later years, and around the 50s and 60s, our population became about 2,400 with the patients with severe staff shortages. There were beds all through the hallways. Rooms that were designed to hold 2 beds could have 3 or 4 across the room. So obviously not ideal for the patient treatment and for the progression of their mental health treatment. Pretty much everyone in this room would have been a patient at this asylum. A lot of times women could be admitted here by their spouses for excessive reading. Sometimes women were committed here because their husbands had taken a mistress and they needed a way to dispose of their wife. And at the time, if you were put in here by a male relative or your husband, they were the only person who could come back and get you out. You were never able to be deemed sane enough to be released on your own accord. So lobotomy, where it seems pretty barbaric to us now, was a pretty common practice to combat symptoms again of mental illness. They took an ice pick-like tool and they pushed it into the corner of your eye and they moved it in a windshield wiper type motion, and it would separate the parts of your brain that controlled personality. A lot of people consider that murdering of the soul. So we don't have an exact number of lobotomies that were performed. That would require records for many, many years to be able to tally those up. We just tell people that there were hundreds of lobotomies.
Unfortunately, history does repeat itself. According to statistics from the National Institute of Mental Health, 1 in 5 Americans is struggling with some version of a mental health illness. To be honest with you guys, mental health is one of the reasons why I create these videos. Really makes you think when you realize that people nowadays have the same struggles as people from the past. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys on the next video.